Hey everybody, this is Chuck and Chuck Adelphia with Dr. Fortino, the great Dr. Fortino. How's everything going?
We're doing good.
Good. You know, I wanted to ask you something. I saw this, I don't know if you'd be willing to comment on this, but I saw this quick article in the New York Post that said there's going to be a larger number of adults that are obese, that are suffering from obesity. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts? Like, why do you think it's trending that way?
It's all about food. I think our food sources are getting simpler to get. They're not as nutritious, and they're causing the diseases you're seeing. We're going to eat more of this food because we're living faster lives. We don't plan. We don't have that sense of family life. I think there's a lot of factors that go into this. So if we really think about why people gain body fat, mostly not necessarily weight per se, but it's body fat, it's all about the food source. And the food sources are highly processed. Everybody's eating out, DoorDash, it's very convenient. You don't have to plan.
Yeah.
And if you think about going back into the 50s, that 9 to 5 family lifestyle that people had, you went to school and parents went to work and you came home and we made dinner and we sat down, but we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I do think it's that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're getting obese, we're getting sicker, right?
Yeah.
We're getting more heart disease, more type 2 diabetes, more mental illnesses too, because it's all a factor of what we eat. And I really believe every disease stems from what we call insulin resistance.
Yeah, and that has a big impact on your psychological aspect too.
It absolutely does. There are data, studies that show even people with severe mental illness, when you change their diet, especially more of a ketogenic type diet, treating bipolar disorder, treating schizophrenia, you can get people to take less medication, if not get them off medication.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like, I know that one of the things that you've talked about before is like paying attention to the labels, the food labels. What are some of the red flags that people should pay attention to, like when they're looking at
more than one
purchasing
ingredient?
food?
If it's got more than one ingredient, you probably don't want to eat it. But let's say you pick up a yogurt. You look at the front of the yogurt and it says, I won't give a name, but it says low-fat Greek yogurt. And it may give you some nutritional facts right off the bat. 0 fat, or whatever. But you read the ingredients and there's more than one ingredient, particularly processed pasteurized milk, and then a list of other ingredients. That's really not yogurt. That's kind of like falls in the line of a snack, pudding.
Yeah.
Right, if you really think about it. Yogurt is generally a rotten food, I guess, if you want to call it a rotten food.
Yeah.
It's generally made with unhomogenized milk and cultures, and that should be your 2 ingredients in there, if you consider the cultures an ingredient.
Right.
So it shouldn't have sugar, sucralose, it shouldn't have cane sugar, it shouldn't have words that you can't even pronounce, chemicals, it shouldn't have chemicals.
Okay. Now, what would you say to people that say, oh, eating healthy is too expensive, it's cheaper to eat junk food or fast food or something like that? Like, do you hear that often?
Always. But down the road, you're going to pay for it with the medical expenses of diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and maybe even worse. You will pay for it in every aspect of your life, because you'll be less physically active, you'll be not as healthy, and you'll have heart issues, or you'll have lung issues, or you'll have other. So you're paying for the quality of the food now, or you're going to buy cheap food now and pay for it in a medical expense later. And what's worse, having bad quality of life? You know, that to me is not really good.
And I think, and we're fortunate in that, like in this area that we live in, there are a lot of good farmers markets here, and I mean, like, I really don't see a dramatic difference in the prices of those of the food that you can buy at a farmer's market and what you can get, like, whatever junk food is.
There really isn't. In fact, you should shop more than once a week if you really want to do it right. It's it's really a mental process. It really helps soothe you when you're shopping for right produce. Maybe you go to some place that has their own chickens and you buy them, you pick them yourself.
Mhm.
It's really like a nice connection to the earth
Yeah,
that grounds you.
definitely.
Looking at, like going to a quality butcher. It's a
Mhm.
great place to go. I love going there.
Yeah.
Some women like pocketbooks, I like going to the butcher.
Yeah.
But it makes you
Mhm.
connect to your food source better, and it's definitely a healing quality. It's
Mhm.
definitely something you should do for yourself.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
like the convenience of having a full cupboard. I don't have to go out and get my
Mhm.
food. It's there. It'll stay forever.
Mhm.
And that, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the quality of our food, it's not like that anymore.
Mhm.
Even though bread will last a long time,
Yeah.
it's not good bread.
Yeah, it's not. You
Yeah.
said it before, like, like it's supposed to go bad over.
It's supposed to go
after
bad in a
it's-
day or two.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be like
Correct.
a piece of sponge.
If you're
2
in
weeks
Europe,
later.
if
Yeah.
you go to Europe, France, England, Italy, Greece, these countries, they shop every other day. They shop, they don't have big refrigerators. They
Mhm.
walk to the market with a bag, they get their stuff for the day, and
Yeah.
they do it. It's repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
And our convenience factor is making us ill,
Yeah, definitely, and making us lazier.
Making us
too,
lazy.
I saw somebody. There was this doctor that made this comparison. He said, like, the amount of time that you spend driving to, say, a fast food restaurant and waiting in line and then coming all the way back, and
Mhm.
like the time that you put into that, like you could easily do food prep in less
Food
time
Absolutely.
and still save money.
And it's worse, and it's more expensive. If you order a coffee from a certain convenience store that sells gas, won't give any names out,
Mm-hmm.
it costs about $8
Yeah.
to deliver one coffee, and
Mhm.
people do that.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen
Mhm.
people get a milkshake delivered
Yeah.
to their house. $12. How's that economically
Look,
affordable for anybody?
when I lived in Ecuador, I notoriously used to take a taxi to a certain gas station to get a couple cups of coffee. I had the
Mhm.
taxi wait for me, and then I would just go back, and like it was so much better just to make coffee
Coffee,
on my
yeah.
own. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it had less sugar, and I mean, you think about it, your daily plans. I mean, I guess I think part of the challenge for a lot of people is also like taking the time to do food prep and but you could probably do that once a week and just save yourself a lot of time and money.
I'll bet there's an app for that.
Yeah.
How to prep food.
Yeah.
And even if you made something with a crock pot and put it in, you freeze it, you can make 7 meals in a week.
Mhm.
And one day out of the week, you can make 7 meals. You freeze it, and
Yeah.
it's doable.
Yeah.
Simple. The
Mhm.
food is very simple to cook. It's not complex.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you're going to make soups or get fancy with recipes, then it's a little skill. But
Mhm.
cooking a piece of meat, cooking a chicken in the oven, it's pretty easy. Stir
Yeah.
frying vegetables, a
Mhm.
wok. You can get a wok and cook vegetables that
Yeah.
easy.
I'll tell you just from my personal experience, I know that people tell me that it's hard for them to make the adjustment because of, how a lot of vegetables or healthy food doesn't have flavor. I was like, well, I mean, that's where you get creative. You experiment with
creative,
spices.
right.
I mean, look at all the food apps they have now. YouTube has a ton of videos where people can help you, go through a recipe to make something healthy and delicious. Eating healthy doesn't have to be boring or
It
unexpected.
doesn't have to be, yeah. In fact, I'm not much of a vegetable person. I enjoy a good ribeye or a
Mhm.
New York strip, and I eat it right off the cutting board,
Mm-hmm.
which is easy because there's not much to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
But watching, especially my daughter, she lives away at school, she's gotten so creative with her dinner. She cooks almost every night.
Yeah.
And she'll film it, and was so interesting to see how she went from the stress of school and living away and so forth, but able to set herself up
Mhm.
every day
Yeah.
to cook, which is
Yeah.
pretty neat.
Yeah, it is. It is a great experience when you have that chance to live on your own and you get a chance to experiment quite a bit.
What's anything interesting you cooked recently?
I
Since you
have-
lived in Ecuador.
Well, I mean, eventually I gotta learn how to make ceviche. Relearn how to make ceviche. The Ecuadorian ceviche is primo.
Really good,
That's
yeah.
amazing. And they have this great shrimp and garlic sauce that you can get on the coast there. It's amazing. They sell it in some places here too. But recently I've been just like making this mixture of I've been sauteing like spinach with garlic, onions, mushrooms, in butter. I've been using butter a lot recently. And I also wanted to ask you about, because I don't know, olive oil is pretty healthy, but there's been a lot of talk of beef tallow recently. What do you know about beef tallow?
Don't know much, but it's really simple to do, I think, but I've never had it.
Yeah.
Have you tried your own recipe?
Oh, not yet. I was curious what it was like. I've heard
I don't think
things
it's,
about
no,
it.
in fact, marrow too.
Yeah.
People use, back then, when you raised your animals, you ate them from nose to tail.
Yeah.
There was nothing that went to waste.
Mm-hmm.
So every part of an animal was meant to serve you a function.
Yeah.
It was, even the tongue,
Yeah.
even the liver.
Yeah.
So the nutrient density you can get from different parts of the body is really interesting.
Anthony Bourdain talks about that. He talked about that a lot on No Reservations. How a lot of the foods that were served in different parts of the world, there were some poor areas that had to get every square inch of the animal into their daily meals, because otherwise they didn't know when their next meal was going to be.
Right, isn't there a tribe in Tanzania, they eat meat and blood?
Yeah.
I think, and the blood is very ceremonial to eat these animals, because they thank the being, the God above.
Yeah.
And the blood, who would eat blood? But there's a lot of nutrients in it.
Yeah. Makes you also, appreciate, you could see back in the past how people had to hunt and gather their food. And also farms in the early 20th century, late 19th century, how they would have to wake up before dawn.
Right, could you imagine doing it? You gotta set a fire up, you gotta...
Now you just open up an app and, click, 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 and it's on its way,
So we have it very good. We have available, and, like you mentioned before, is it more expensive? I think the trade-off is you'll live a healthier life. You'll actually eat less.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to get better nutrition, your body doesn't require so much intake.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
And if you eat less, you'll feel better.
Yeah.
And you'll definitely you'll definitely spend less money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as you always say, what you put into your body, the kitchen is the heart of of becoming healthier. Right. And then what you do at the gym, that's just the fountain of youth that helps you look young.
Exercise keeps you young. The fountain of youth is really being strong, and particularly the exercise you like to do the most. You like to swim. There's no disadvantages. There's no bad effects of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
You could overdo it once, but you rest and you recover. Yeah. And that's the ability of your body to avoid stress, to recover from stress. So when you are physically strong, you definitely recover quicker if you do have an insult.
Yeah. I think the main hurdles at the beginning are definitely overcoming a sedentary lifestyle, trying to become active, finding ways to make healthy food delicious, realizing that healthy food is not as expensive as we think. But have you heard of any other hurdles that any of your patients tell you about
Well, the hurdles come with kids, distractions. Let's call them distractions. Your job, your kids, school. You might be juggling all three of them at the same time. You might be a single parent raising 3 kids or whatever. Yeah. That's tough. Yeah. So they're the hurdles that we deal with everyday life. And you know what? I can't give anybody advice on how to be a single parent. I'm a parent, but do the best you can. If you need to take a step back and you look at yourself and you really analyze, well, we're healthy, we're doing right, making small little refinements in your diet. Your exercise routine could be at home. You could stand up and squat. 10 sets of 10 every night, right? 10 sets of 10. That could be a simple workout. Yeah. And that could be life-changing, a simple step in the beginning for someone who is very stressed with kids
Yeah.
or a job.
Mhm.
So you don't have to be in a gym.
Yeah.
Push-ups.
And if you have stairs, you can like stand
Climb
on the
steps.
edge and work on your calf muscles just on the
You can
edge
do
of the steps
calf
like
raises,
that.
you
Yeah.
can climb steps, you can do
Mhm.
2 at a time, you know. You don't need anything fancy.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
you think about where we came from as we evolved from hunter-gatherers, we were hunting a long time.
Mhm.
What you did, you went out to maybe you had food to bring with you that was dried meats or
Mhm.
fruit, but you picked fruit from the vine. Maybe you found a beehive,
Yeah.
had a little bit of honey. But once you got your
And maybe you didn't realize there was a wasp hive and you got
right, but once you were able to find your source, your meat, or what you were hunting for, you took it back and you butchered it, and you know, it's a process.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
have to do that anymore. Butcher does it for us.
Definitely. Slightly changing topics here. In the past, they used to say like things like oatmeal and like brown rice, or I even heard like white rice was healthy back in the past. But that's something that is not as
Today, no.
It's
And
not
I can
considered as healthy.
tell you why. It's highly refined anymore.
Mhm.
Genetically modified as well.
Mhm.
There's the different chromosomal makeup to our wheat today than it was in the 80s and 70s and 60s. And it used to grow really tall, now I think it grows really short.
Mhm.
The chromosomal makeup is much different. And I'm not ever saying you'll never eat bread again or have a cookie or a glass of wine. That's not what we preach.
Mhm.
But to look at food that you would say health professionals want us to eat,
Mhm.
it's not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not healthy to put on a box of a certain cereal that will help lower your cholesterol.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, let's address, is high cholesterol bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And what is bad cholesterol? What's the number? Is there a number you treat, or you know, when do you intervene?
Yeah.
Because the sugar, the food that you're looking at that's going to help you is just full of sugar.
Mhm.
How can
Yeah.
that be good when it's
Yeah.
inflammatory?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
probably a topic for a different
And
day. But
yeah, not only that, but like, you know, going back to the topic like fast food, I mean, like, really, you don't know if it's really food. You know, here's a quick story. I used to work with a guy, and he was an investor in one of like a very famous fast food place that I used to love. And I asked him, "Oh, you must go there all the time." He's like, "No." He's like, "You know, one of the ingredients and you know one of the things they use is actually paper." I was like, "What?"
Paper?
He was like, "Yeah, because like
in a
because
meat product?
yeah, well, no, and a tortilla."
In a tortilla product.
And he said, like, because like he's an investor, they have to like provide their investors with all the like
Mhm.
clear data and like everything. They got to be honest with it. And he's like, they tell me about the ingredients, and then over time, I've heard things about other fast food places, and you know, it's you can do a lot better than that.
Well, their profits are very high for
Yeah.
what they make, and the
Mhm.
sources of where they get their food could be different places.
Yeah.
And it's technically not really food, but the government
Yeah.
says it is, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And the government would never lie to us, so
No.
we gotta go with that. So.
No.
All right. Well, I think I'm almost out of time here. Yeah, but it was a great conversation. Thank you very much, Dr. Fortino. Let me tell you something. You know, before I started with Dr. Fortino, I wouldn't have been able to fit in one of these chairs. These chairs that have handles here, it would have been pressing up against my thighs. It would have been torture. I might not have even been able to sit in here. But this guy, he knows what he's doing. Thank you very much,
You
Dr.
did the
Fortino.
work.
Thank you.
You did the work.
I appreciate it.
God bless.
Thank you. So that's it for today. Hopefully we'll get some more of these going in the future. And if you have any questions for Dr. Fortino, let us know. And we'll talk about them in the future. Thanks again. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Open your eyes, why don't you see? There's a world out there waiting to see you. Open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes. ojos, porque no ves que hay un mundo ahí esperando por ti. Abre tus ojos, abre tus ojos, abre tus ojos.